Alright, I want to get on the topic of what's called the Erev Zeir. The Erev Zeir. Basically, the Erev Zeir are people who are very, they can be very scrupulous in the Torah and its commandments, etc. But they, their motives are deep down inside for bad reasons. Um, they're the religious ones who are corrupt, and they're the ones who are the corrupt religious ones. So I like to view them. Um, basically, these people are quite influential. I've done a good amount of them. I've done many good things in the world. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes down to cutting the mustard and getting done what you got to get done and doing what you got to do, the Erev Zeir label, which involves the religious ones, religious Jews, not all of them, but the label category of the Erev Zeir are the religious ones that are corrupt, and they're also, I like to see it as the corrupt religious ones. They're corrupt and they go for religion and they're good. Then there's the ones who are religious, then they go corrupt, then they go back to good. Those are usually the good kind. The religious that go corrupt, then they go back to good when things get bad. Then there's the corrupt kind. They go to religious when things they gonna get into being religious when things are bad. Then when things are lower, they go back to being corrupt. And the same thing with the religious ones who become corrupt are basically there to support those that are corrupt religious. Those are from corrupt going to religious. Now, now these people are religious, but the thing that I learned is there's gonna be a fighting of the Erev Zeir because they keep on helping the Erev Rav out at times when you need support for spiritual, I don't know, outreach for people maybe to, fulfill their obligation to one another as people, morals. So they basically, at the end up maybe supporting somebody who's very corrupt. Let's say, like, for example, a corrupt rabbi. You might have a different kind of religious corrupt Erev Zeir who would support a corrupt religious Erev Zeir. So the corrupt religious, the way I'd like to see it, they start with being corrupt on the inside, then they turn religious when things get bad, which is kind of like a maze if you think about it. It's not easy to, we'll get into that later. And they're also ones at the end that turn, good to God. The ones who start off corrupt. Then there are religious ones who become corrupt because they feel free or they feel like there's, time available, or a corrupt religious one would seek the support of a religious corrupt one. So you got the religious who are in the beginning, they're religious and they get corrupt because they don't want to take it all the way. Instead of holding their position spiritually with the choices they've chosen, instead they, okay, do some bad. They're like, they feel good. They think they could do some bad, maybe get away with it. But what I want to say is, it's causing lots of what's the word here? I really want to alert this to people because it really takes away a lot of the life energy, causes lots of problems, lots of spending of life energy. So basically, you spend so much time wasting, using life energy. Well, you get tired, really. You spend your energy, is more like it, actually. Um, Sorting out the corruption, they make you think a lot because they don't want to be straight. They're these kind of people who are, religious, but they're not going to stop sticking to certain false ideologies or false beliefs when it comes to Judaism, God, and Torah observance. Like they'll ask you, you know, are you wearing tzitzit? And automatically feel on the inside you're as if it's a force internally, in essence, to worship them or a rabbi or something like that. So I would like to say there's something called the label of religious, which divides lots of people. And there's also something called being an observant Jew. An observant one, as the Torah says, observe the decrees, the ordinances, etc., etc. Well, you're cruising in life, you're trying your best, you're on your, you know, you're in your whatever, cruising, you're observing, you're doing your best. If you can, you'll do it. If you can't, you won't be able to. But, you know, as the Torah says, if you couldn't perform a certain commandment, heaven considers if you kept it. So, you're basically observing. Now, I just want to say, with these people always in the way, the Erev Zeir, the corrupt religious ones, or the religious corrupt ones, this is how I want to categorize them right here, so you get the basic viewpoint of the idea here, because it's really, there's kind of two different sides to it. The bottom line is when the heat picks up, they turn good and observant. But their ideas and everything they do is for vanity unless they correct the very area spiritually that matters, which is to stop brainwashing people for religious worship reasons, for worship that's corrupted. I'm not talking about actual worship, I'm talking about corrupted worship, where everybody, for some reason, just stands by a leader who says stupid things, and everybody wants to be corrupt in that religious area or community. Well, it's time to get you on a little expose here, because I want people to know this one thing, is what they're doing in the world is that these people are highly advanced in the mind, in spirituality, in the heart. They're highly disciplined spiritually, especially. Luckily, they're not physically disciplined like me, maybe. But these people know what they're doing from the head. You know? I mean, to defeat something like this, you'd have to know what you're doing from the head and from your own power. Physically, spiritually, you got to be fully rounded to have an overview on how to take on this challenge. Because they basically are the kinds of people who have certain Kabbalistic knowledge or Torah knowledge. They like to use it against people. Certain things that should not be taught to them anyway. The Erev Zeir are the ones also who have Kabbalistic cures, and for some reason keep saying, the Ari said if there's no temple, then you do not use these Kabbalistic cures. Now, or Kabbalah Masid, which is where it is. Now, the Torah says, unless there's three things you can break the Torah. I know, but I'm not even knowing about the source of this. It's just an exalted way. This is how all of them act. They say, if this is not like this, then I won't do it, to make themselves exalted, but they're really supporting evil deep down inside. I'm going to get into this how now. Now, they have these Kabbalistic cures, and their responsibility is to be curing people who are in need, that are not going to be harmful later. Now, the Torah says if it's life or death, there are three things you don't do. One, which is adultery. Okay. Two, killing another Jew. Three, idolatry. Other than that, you can do it. Then it's like, you know, I mean, if a person has to die for it, they die for it. They can't, you know, fight against whoever's telling them, you know, to commit idolatry, or they'll kill them, or kill another Jew, or bow down to another, or bow down to an idol or something. So The Kabbalah Masid cure has nothing to do with an impure body, if it even was anywhere in the Torah, which I definitely don't see where. You cure people, Jews, Gentiles, you cure people who are in need of these things because you don't understand, so-called Kabbalists right now, you don't understand the spiritual impurities that are around in the atmosphere right now in these days, and the spirituality of everybody, how it's sinking at this point, because everybody's going lower and lower and lower and lower with all the corruption and negativity all around the world right now. Everyone's losing money, etc. You want to create, you want to make money, anything you want to do, you need positive energy. Everybody is exhausted right now, most of the world, spiritually. Good health creates lots of things, lots of opportunities for you, and a brain to think with, especially. By you withholding this and not even teaching people who are worthy of learning Kabbalah Masid, the Torah says somebody wants to learn Torah and you're not teaching it to him, it's as if, it's worse than killing him. And tell me something, Kaduri's Kabbalists, tell me this right here. As a Talmud records, puts in there was a family who had a certain recipe to the temple. They didn't want to teach it to anybody. Well, what about you guys? You guys seem like you're a group. You don't want to teach the Kabbalah Masid cures to anybody. You think you have life in the world to come? Many of you? Because you want to stick up and give it all up for a rabbi who once, not Rav Kaduri by the way, but other rabbinic leaders that are fake, who brainwashed them and broke their egos, broke their spirits, etc. And then they lifted them up when they came ready to worship like this rabbi or leader or whatever, who would make them feel a little better about their lives after what he's done to them. It gives them a sense of direction. Do mitzvot through me is the way of these rabbis. You do good deeds through me, and this rabbi gets a little bit of he gets some of the reward account, because through him he did good deeds. And the rabbi, some rabbinic leader, has all these connections, and he connects you to him if you meet some. And how do you get it? Through corruption. Those are the ones that I'm talking about. Now the Talmud says about this story, about the family that had this recipe, and it says if there's something in the Torah, you're not teaching it, and people don't know about it, you have no life in the world to come. These are the type of idiot fanatics I'm talking about, who say, my rabbi said this and this, I won't do it, even if it goes against the Torah. There's a difference between having a spiritual guide, he's there to do certain things, and not everybody is purposely misinterpreting this thing, not realizing that people are losing life in the world to come, because they know deep down inside it's wrong, and they're still going with it because they need an answer consciously. But nobody who really knows the work is really around to give it, unless they really get lucky to save their soul. Now, the Erev Zeir. How do you beat the Erev Zeir? 1. Being observant. 2. Really thinking through the things they're telling you to make sure they're not spiritually ripping you off in the sense. That's the guard you should have. Keeping your guard spiritually at all times. Now, the Torah does speak about certain fightings that are going to take place during the age of the Mashiach or whatever. So, through holy people, through people leading these fights, and I'm not even talking about physical fights or whatever, through them, when you're on the side of the right people, when you're on the side of Mashiach ben David, when you're on the side of Mashiach ben Yosef, when you're on the side of God, internally, you're going to feel your responsibility once you grow to it. And you're going to know which position to take. And knowing what to say to them, what to say to who, because they're destroying life in the atmosphere. The Erev Zeir and they know how to spiritually. They spiritually. I mean, I'm sure if people, people have been around. How you explain this? If people have been around certain Hasidic areas, they felt very dead or very something very impure energetically, or you felt very corny around places. These people like to spread. They like to lower the standard. All right, of cool people, of people who really have a head on their shoulders, bring them all the way down, lower than them, and then I'll give you an example of rabbis, which are corrupt, and then they bring these cool people, or once cool people, all the way down beneath their feet, spiritually, everywhere you can, and then they become merciful, and they say, yeah, 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 and then they say, oh, this rabbi is cool. He's cool. Fuck is this? Kasha Varnishki is cool? Pardon my language. I don't know about Kasha Varnishki is cool. What the hell is a Kasha Varnishki in the first place? Cool? That's not cool. That's like a mercy of the wicked. If he's in a good mood, or you got a wicked boss at work, or something like that, which many people have seen many times. It's just hilarious. He's in a bad mood. You're going through hell. He'll put you through. He's in a good mood. Oh, we're all happy today. Yeah, we're happy now. Oh, he's cool. He's cool. He's a cool boss. Oh, he's pissed off today. What is this? Is called abuse. It's called wicked. It's called abuse of wickedness. Abuse of the wicked. Please, oh please. They want to bring you down to your knees, down. So be at their mercy, broken and selfless, because they finally made you fail, because they know so much Torah, and how God tests you, because they learned so much Torah. The written Torah, the oral Torah, Kabbalah even. Kabbalah. They know how to give you tests that you don't even ask for, just because you hang around them. Make you fail on yourself, brainwash you, fool you, beat you to your mind until you're walking around happy in comparison. When you forget, by the way, what they've done to you and how high you were once before they put you all the way down there, it's a high compared to what you are now. Example. They bring you so low and put you through so much suffering and take so much from you spiritually. Then you walk around happy. You go in a synagogue on Shabbat, happy. You think you're happy, maybe. Some of you become happy when you leave them. You're going around, a teaching here or there, away from them, different people, maybe a couple weddings, maybe a bar, maybe hang out with your friends in the movie theaters, just to escape them. Life becomes one escape. When you leave them, and you're walking to a synagogue on the Sabbath, on Shabbat, on the Sabbath you walk in and you're like, well, I feel happy, relieved inside. You tell people I'm happy. But what about the memory you had before you even ran into these people? Before they broke you? For you, in comparison to what they put you through, you feel all happy and stuff. It's like putting you through Egypt, where you already forgot what it was like to be free. And you in the shitter so much. Pardon my language. Don't pardon my language. You deserve it, actually. People actually got fooled into this shit purposely. Purposely wanted to fail themselves, their own conscience. Just to you. And you're like, wow, I feel good. I feel better now. Why? Because they got you, maybe spiritually, maybe mentally. Maybe they caught an emotion that's very important to you. They grab you by that. Grab you by a hook. In your emotions, mentally maybe, spiritually. Maybe you're a good person who doesn't want to fail God, and they try to innovate on that. They innovate on this, so you fail, and they say, no, you see, to themselves, they say about you internally. They say, I didn't go through these things. I had good teachers. I had nice rabbis or whatever. They taught me the good stuff. I didn't go through this, but I'm going to put you through it now. They have all of that strength. It's not really strength, but that smartness in their head. It's strength. They cause so much on you spiritually that you have no idea. I mean, think about when the Hebrews back before, when they left Egypt. They're saying they reached, what, like the 49th level of impurity? Had they stayed a little longer, it would have been 50, the 50th level of Tumah, of impurity. And that's it. They would have been on there. This is a great example what the Erev Zeir have done to you. To many people, as much as they can. Gentiles, Jews. You'd be surprised what they have over you. The Torah knowledge, the spiritual experience, and plus that evil they worked on perfecting for so many years. Because you didn't want to think for yourself, you wanted to quit. But I'll tell you, these people hit you as hard as they can when you're trying harder. They'll try to get usually as many people as they can and try to brainwash you and try to break you spiritually until you finally fold and submit to them. They stand as authorities and honorable. They want to bring everybody so down and so low so that they'll be honorable in comparison to you, and then it's up to them to fulfill the mission of God, and then they see the light through your failures and become good without their heart being involved in it, and somehow get saved, some of them, and make it to the world to come. It's a great example too. I know some stories that are going to be like this. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised who makes it where. You'd be surprised who doesn't make it. Because maybe he relied on his colleague or a friend or whoever on his beliefs because he wouldn't fail in that area. And he went down with him. You say, oh, he's going there, I'm going there. They don't even know where they're going. Next thing you know, they're making bad choices. They don't want to abandon their friend. So all this becomes like a worship of people. And I want to say one thing. The people, the leaders, any kind of people, pay very close attention. Any kind of people who desire to get other people involved and gain power over other people's heads, whichever way, and they want to get more people into it, and the idea, notion, or feeling is as if you're worshiping them and not God. Most of them were or are idol worshippers. They have all this energy to fool you and all this energy to know how to get you and all these things, how to get you with their heads, knowing the Torah and all that stuff and using it against you due to idol worship. Idol worship, you could do lots of things. I've seen many people who are into these things. They're like smooth killers. You probably won't even notice. And they have some sort of like a artificial beauty that seems to be. As far as worship goes, this isn't Egypt, this isn't slavery. Make sure you don't have a master who you obey to. These people are causing sicknesses, health problems. On top of that, they're causing people could be doing better things to have no things. Why? Because they're taking positions that are not theirs. They're taking spots that are not theirs. When it's time to make the next move, you're making a next step toward redemption. Them, they constantly, either they mean well or they don't. They delay redemption. They get into someone's spot because somebody else isn't there to fill it. Because maybe he had to go save someone else's life. Or whatever. They want to put you in positions where you have to work, and they take advantage of your goodness, where you have to do other things to maintain your life or your health internally so you don't become sick. That's where they're trying to lead you to. That's what their game is a lot of the time. You doing other things, they mislead you in certain things, they make you learn other things while they are actually taking your spiritual positions, your spiritual spots. They try to brainwash you more and frustrate you more and make you feel more till you do things their way and you want to come out of it their way. Instead of the way your conscience, you feel your conscience is hinting you to come out God's way, to think through, to maybe stay away from here, maybe things feel dangerous here, maybe things feel a little safer here, maybe things feel crucial right now. What am I going to do if things feel crucial? A fool who follows these kind of people, they say, forget it, I'll just go and pray right now. Praying and all these things. That's a pity. It's a pity It's a shame. Now, the Erev Zeir, what I want to say is, caused lots of, I'll call it tumah. Let's just go call it tumah. Lots of impurity, lots of spiritual impurity into everybody spiritually, because believe it or not, all of Israel is one body. Now, when you have a rabbi that's cancerous spiritually, that's like a cancer in the Jewish body. The Jewish people are one. How? Maybe you'll try to pay attention one day, and maybe you'll see, God forbid, somebody doing a really bad sin, one that people really feel inside if they see something happen, and then pay attention to that spiritual area you have on the inside. Maybe it felt blissful, maybe it felt peaceful, maybe it felt nice, maybe it felt good, maybe it felt nice and good. You see somebody doing something really bad, and then boom, on the inside of there, something changes to the worst. Many people have taken notice of this. I mean, there are times when you see things happening, and it affects you like that. That's the death, the tumah that I'm saying, is that they're bringing in on the inside of the Jewish body. Now let's face it, redemption doesn't come without the Jewish people. We know on the inside what redemption is about and the importance of redemption, especially for the Jewish people, because we have a spiritual mission to listen to heed to, whatever. We all have these responsibilities. If it's not for us, I mean, the Gentile nations, no offense to you, they're not going to understand this because it's not in their area or border of spirituality in their mission as far as their life goes. We handle the behind-the-scenes spiritual things. They handle most of the things in the physical. It's cool, it's good. We do our job, they do their job. We're people, they're people. We'll be people, they'll be people. You have to understand, the Jewish people, that Gentile people look at Jewish people as well. We hold major influence on them. If you are following corrupt rabbinic leaders who are destroying you spiritually, making you do all kinds of stupid things, you have the Gentile nations looking at you too as an older brother. Israel, the older brother, whether they want to or not, whether they know it or not, consciously, whether they think it or understand it or know it or not, that's what's happening. They're following Israel's lead, one way or the other, whether they're doing good or bad to you. They're following our lead. Now, what people have to go through is whatever they have to go through for redemption or to make a comeback or anything, or to get off of an addiction to drugs or something, or anything like that. You get off of addiction to drugs the right way, you make your life up the right way, or in other ways, those are forms of redemption, maybe in the even microscopic type of, term. You don't just get redemption like that. You might think, oh, Mashiach's going to come, he's just going to redeem us in redemption. All of us work our way to it. Redemption is merited by certain people doing their part, men doing their part, working their way to defeat the Erev Rav, finally removing the Erev Zeir, putting them out of contention finally, because they keep on bringing the Erev Rav back, or they become the Erev Rav afterwards. When you see people are going to go a certain way with their mouth, with their words, or spiritually, they're not going to stop being the same corrupt type of people. It's time for the men to be men. No matter what Torah you learn, what spiritual level you learn, I mean, don't do anything stupid if you feel your conscience is trying to tell you this is a little dangerous to get involved with this guy, because he might wreck you spiritually with what he knows. He might take advantage of your goodness. You might end up researching too much. You might get tired. You might quit in a certain area. Maybe you chose to quit in a certain area. Maybe you chose to quit in certain areas and then you want to live like that and you're not going to change. Fine. What can I say? We're in the fourth world according to Kabbalah. There's the fifth, the sixth, the seventh world. If people are going to be there, whatever. To rectify all these things anyway. Whatever. But there's also going to be the world to come. Spiritual world, beautiful world. People with less reward, people with more reward. I mean, you're doing it to yourself. But your choices are your choices. Some of you made choices that you can no longer maybe perfect at this point, unless other people do it. Then again, making up for your failures at this point, talking to anybody here, making up at this point and making it right to as best as you can for this world, whatever you screwed up maybe for the seventh world, the sixth, the fifth, whatever. But it's time to make it all go with the flow already, you know? Now, lots of these leaders remove, they mess up the flow of energy for people spiritually. That's why they can't get things done. They feel sick. They're not in the right places. Maybe they feel tired. When somebody does you bad, they mess up the flow of energy that was going for you. That's what's called taking the hey, the second letter out of God's name, Yud K Vav K, with the Erev Rav. The Torah says keeps out of God's name. The more you do things the right way, the more you're bringing that, you're so to speak, redeeming that hey into being in God's name again. What do you think it means when it says on that day he will be one and his name will be one? When you do the right thing, when you live the right way, and you can say things when you have to those that are the opposition, those that are spiritual enemies, who don't stop trying to brainwash people, bringing them into bad beliefs, kind of like you have the Muslim raising, telling them to, go become suicide bombers. Folks, wake up. When you are living life the right way, you're doing the right thing, you're bringing that flow of energy into its place. If you choose to screw up a little, what do you think you're doing? You see, the wicked people live their life on removing the flow of energy. And they're also like prostitutes. They go to other places to feel energy, to feel alive. They do corrupt things to feel alive. They work at their own craft too. They do things tirelessly, earn it, then they want to brainwash people, and they want to live off of you. I'm not going to even get into spiritually how it's done. But there is a reason why you're not at better places right now. It's good people I'm talking to, or righteous people, or whatever, or holy people. You're not in the places you want to be spiritually or physically or whatever. Things are not moving and happening the way they're supposed to happen toward your potential because of this flow of energy being out of its place. Because of the Erev Rav. Now, who brings the Erev Rav about? Who keeps the Erev Rav going? The Erev Zeir. It's the religious, it's the corrupt religious ones, and it's the religious corrupt ones, which I call here the Erev Zeir. I label here the Erev Zeir because I've learned about this before. Now, by observing the Torah, doing your best, making that choice to really do your best completely, whether you know what it is or not failing yourself, not failing your consciousness, is how you beat them. And being aware of what they're about, who they are, what they're doing as well. Now, understand one thing. When you're about to succeed over the Erev Zeir, be ready for them to come at you as hard as they can. And just keep on fighting for your life, spiritually. keep on going. Because they want to keep on going to, destroy you spiritually too. They want you to change your whole lifestyle for them, to live for them. That's controlling minds. That's what they did in Holocaust German, Nazi. They changed their lives and lived the way Hitler wanted them to. Look at all the power he amassed. Adolf Hitler would be dead if he existed in my time for what he did. That's the attitude a Jew should have. And spiritually, they should maintain their stance the way they would if they knew something like Germany was going to happen. And what would they do if they knew it before and they knew it the way they knew it after it happened? You'd be ready to go to war every which way you could, every which way you had to. Whether if it was going to war against the Erev Zeir by living the right way, observing the Torah, learning the Torah, observing the commandments, not being a fanatic into the commandments, not helping promote them everywhere when you know they're corrupt. But one guy says, I don't hold by this rabbi, but I'll promote his lecture or something. Please, dude, he's looking at you with those eyes to eat you up any way he can. You say, I don't hold by him, I go by my rabbi. What about your own brain? What about your own thinking? Do you not think for yourself? I fought these people off long and hard a long time ago. They know not to play with me. You mention my name to them, most of them know who I am. They know not to play with me. I will take my belt off. Not physically, but you know what I mean. They want to get stupid and get physical. Self-defense is self-defense. I never had to fight a time in my life unless it was for self-defense. So, the bottom line here is to do things the right way, following the 7 Noahide laws, of course, bringing good people together, because the Erev Rav, who the Erev Zeir supports, if the Erev Rav is going downhill, just to bring up, because the Erev Zeir is smart. All these little troublemakers who think they're big shots and making trouble for everybody else, and the Erev Zeir sits and watches like honorable people, and once again look like honorable people compared to these people that are causing all this trouble, and everybody's dealing with the Erev Rav, with these other people, dealing with them, whatever. You have the Erev Zeir making money on Kabbalistic things, on teaching Torah, on things they should not be making money on things they are charging even interest on, an arm and a leg for. The vibe feels wrong, everything feels wrong. What if deep down inside, in their heads, what if they're thinking they want you to worship them, but they're so great at deceiving and all these things because they have so much experience in their whole lives. Maybe they've tried to do it their whole lives, and using the Torah on top of that. They're spitting in the face of God. Just remember who you're worshiping. You're not worshiping a rabbi, you're not worshiping people, you're not worshiping a commandment, you're not worshiping the Torah. You're worshiping God, Father in heaven. The Erev Zeir, inside of their hearts, are always going against God. Always. How do you dismantle the Erev Zeir? Thinking for yourself. Because they always make it life or death, whether they know it or not, spiritually life or death. By causing you to go to wrong places and do wrong things, it leads you to go to more wrong places and do more wrong things. From there, maybe abuse of your spirituality, or brainwashing you too much and you want to be a good person. Do what the Torah says, do what's right. They try to tell you it means more than it means, give you misinterpreted things, like write in lectures brazenly to your face. So everybody's sitting in a lecture purposely misinterpreting something. Everybody's walking around as if they have like a little, like a, I don't even know what to call it. I don't care, honestly, as far as I go, how honorable they sit, how much they worked on devising their little scheme portraying these images as honorable people, and at times they're honorable people, or a lot of the time they're honorable people, most of you, because they'll change because they've seen the light somehow, when it's not even in their hearts. They change like selfishness, like selfish people with selfishness. At the same time, they said honorable people, they have a little image they portrayed, and everybody suddenly listens to them and comes to them as if they're worshiping them. And you say, yeah, we do what he says, because this is, they come as this, like, like as if they're coming as if they're defending, as if they're a dog defending their master. Like, yeah, we do this and this, they move around their heads and shit, like they're little bitches being abused and shit by their husbands. And they say, oh, we support them, because that's how it is. Excuse me. And on top of that, this is what you people really need to watch out for. They got people, right, who are their students, or I like to call them their little flock. They'll come up to you with the same ideas, with their same failures, and they say, yeah, do this, just do this, and just do this, and that's it. That's life. And they make around like they're nice, white-shirted, clean-cut. Do this and like this, and that's it. It's all fine. Walking around like little Nancy's. In the meantime, you live in a better life. You're observant, but they don't know shit. They don't know you're observant. They don't know you're a man of God. And you know more Torah than them. You know it better than them. You live life better than them. You sure as hell live life better than them. And they're telling you what to do, knowing it's wrong, right to your face. So you change your whole life the way they did because they failed. They walk around broken on the inside, and all this BS, all this nonsense. And they try to alter your life, and suddenly you're living for them. They're living for their master, we can call it, or their rabbi, or whoever misled them like that. And suddenly, one day, he tells you, hey, let's go to a lecture. Why? Because you feel down. You don't know why. You feel broken inside for some reason. Next thing you know, you're on depression. You go to a lecture, and then you finally might end up seeing who brainwashed this guy who brought you to the lecture, who destroyed him on the inside, who broke him, who made him fail on the inside, because this big guy had a mind that he didn't have. The rabbi or the leader that did this had such a big, strong mind in comparison to this little Nancy who came to you telling you, live like this, life like this, and that's, and just go. It's like saying, just suffer a little bit this way, take it like a bitch, and then just go on with your life. Everything's good. Everything's okay. You Jews, we're not supposed to be. I mean, I'll say, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, the Redeemer, he wasn't like this. He picked up what, around like 800 pounds worth of 2 tablets? Excuse me. What is this? David versus Goliath? King David? He wasn't like this. King David killed lions and bears for trying to attack his the animals he was watching, King Solomon was very technical, very wisdomatic. I mean, I'm sure he'd know how to take a strong man easily. Look at the Jews today. I'm not talking about all Jews, I'm talking about the white-shirted type ones walking around abused. I'm not talking about Jews who wear white shirts and are religious or whatever. I'm talking about the abused ones. You frown on a Jewish man with muscles? Excuse me, that's your wife eyeing the Jewish man with muscles, wishing you'd be a real man. That's your wife dreaming of the man with muscles because he's feeling this shit. Excuse me, that's the guy with muscles, keeping a safe distance away from your wife so you don't know what she really thinks about you, so you don't end up hanging yourself. Respect a Jewish man who's observant in the Torah and is a man of God with muscles. Pardon me. I like to learn, I just don't like people teaching nonsense, bullshit. You got me ending up speaking like a foul-mouthed jerk from out of town. What happened to the color within the religious areas of the Jewish people? What happened to the humor that all of us saw and you once had a long time ago? What happened? The heroes of the previous generations got older and they died, and you prided them. I'll tell you, the whole time they really looked down on you because you wouldn't make it work for yourself. They stood up and fought their entire lives if they had to. Now, this little disease that I'm talking about right here is the Erev Zeir. They're very tricky because if things go bad and everybody suddenly wants to change for the better because things are going bad and everybody's suffering, they change too. If they're corrupt, they change to religious. If they're religious, nothing's going bad and they feel free because they don't want to reach their potential or whatever. They'll do a little corruption maybe. These are the people who keep going and don't stop, no matter how much you reach into them or try to reach into them. Time wasting is enough. Okay? I've seen too many people in the wrong positions, in the wrong spots, calling the wrong shots. Alright? I see a bunch of mini-me's with I see a bunch of needle dicks, honestly, part of my language, walking around, calling shots, and telling people things the way it's supposed to be, when it's abuse they're preaching because they're failures themselves. I mean, sure, we're, be normal people, but, what are you going to do, get violent with these people? No, you put them in their places with your mouth. If they want to get stupid enough to get violent, the way many of these religious people stand up and fight for their rabbinic leaders, they come, with this brazen look on their face, and they come to fight, they say, well, you said this and this and this. Why? Because you proved to them, especially with your own life and living the right way, or in certain areas the right way, you've shown to them that their entire lives are wrong, and they're just destroying themselves, killing themselves, destructing themselves on the inside all the time. This is why people don't want to touch a Torah. It's not the Torah you don't want to touch to Jews. It's these people you don't want to touch. They snap and they finally lose. They see that they're total failures who are corny and have so much spiritual tumor inside of them, and that nasty vibe, this stain. They come at you violently. I've seen it happen before. They come at you violently with this. They become wicked people. They have this look on their faces. They have this look on their faces as if they were once idol worshippers before. The idol worshipping look on their face. They come to fight you. They want to take it to the death, they say. What the? You want to take it to the death? Try your best not to get into a fight, but say what you got to say. Stand up for the right thing. When you succeeded, they'll shut up and they'll be finished on the inside. They're not going to bother anybody. They're not going to spread any more of this bullshit in the atmosphere. Things are going to feel great. People are going to have the energy to go out, go to parks, go to recreation rides. These people are saying don't go to parks, don't go to recreation rides. Sit and learn Torah 15, 16, 17, 18 hours a day. When the Torah clearly says, by the way, I should be explaining this, but the Torah clearly says when a person starts, he's not supposed to learn too much. Especially if it's going to leave you being unhealthy or like a vegetable or whatever. I've seen rabbis pull off things by having people learning about 20 hours a day. If he wants to do it, if he's ready for it, sure. Maybe 1,000 pounds to him is nothing to him. But if you have him doing it the wrong way, this dude is very likely to become extremely ill at some point. Mentally ill, maybe. He might end up seeing shit he's not supposed to see. Maybe tapping into the wrong Kabbalah when he's overly vulnerable and tired spiritually, because maybe he needs to catch a break. He foolishly can't control himself and goes and learns or does something that he's not supposed to do. These things have happened. These leaders, the corrupt ones, are the ones who are trying to get you to be vegetables. To sit there and have wonderful people come up to you and visit you so that he could feed off of it. It's a little high they get for some reason while doing these things. People need to understand is that this is your life. These are lives at jeopardy spiritually. Your soul. It leads you to death. Really. You'll get sick maybe, or you make some bad decisions. Next thing you know, your health is in jeopardy. God forbid. And look who caused it. And you're sitting in a hospital, God forbid. You're like, where are they when I need them now? Oh, he brainwashed me the whole time. Oh, you're sitting in a bed. Oh my God. A person with cancer, God forbid. He's asking himself, is he going to live or is he going to die? He reflects. He's like, oh, this guy brainwashed me. This guy brainwashed me. People sitting in hospitals, they know they're going to live. They're like, oh, these rabbis, what they did to me, etc., etc. While you're sitting and enjoying life, you know, at one point, but they're, you know, trying to destroy you spiritually at the same time, bringing you to some connections or whatever, introducing you to people who are high profile, but at the same time, good high profile people who are prostitutes to them. This is what the Erev Zeir is about. They might introduce you to lots of pleasures, luxuries, money. You might meet some people who get you making a lot of money. But the end of all of this is not just the end of this. I'm not going to say it could even result in death. So the end of this could result to even what's worse than death, finishing you off as if you never even existed, like a finished off piece of trash, like shit. You just being like finished off, no spiritual life that you finished off with even. I've seen things like this happen, heard stories too. Becoming such a wicked person and such a nasty person with that stain, the Erev Zeir stain, the tuma, spiritual tuma, that feeling that I like to describe like that, whether it's tuma or not, that's what I'm calling it. And suddenly, you don't want to work on yourself because there's so much to work on. And look what this leader or rabbi or whoever did to you. And it's too much work for you to rectify spiritually because you ruined it for so many other people. You preached to them the same kind of lifestyle you were living. You said to yourself, no, I'll be good. Trusted yourself. As the Torah says, don't trust yourself till the day you die. Next thing you know, God forbid, maybe you take it like a man, you feel sick, you have a death honorably, or you end up going for the worst, trying to do the worst to people and give them what you have, all your problems, all your sufferings, and you end up suffering the worst to the worst type of death, which is many times, which has happened many times. No life in the world to come, maybe not being there for the fifth or sixth world, who knows? And I'll tell you, if you have no life in the world to come, or maybe you're not there in the fifth or sixth world, and you're suddenly back for the seventh, what are you going to feel like? Worlds away, maybe, underly developed than everybody else around you. Good luck surviving in this world. You understand now what the point here is? This is what they're doing to you. You think you're living off a big bank account in this world? What about the total 360 scope of view? You spent all of your spiritual life on sponsoring corrupt religious people or religious corrupt people. This is what the Erev Zeir is. This is something that needs to finally come to a conclusion. People need to wake up and stop supporting this, because I'm now exposing this as I'm speaking out loud about this. People are going to speak about it. And I also know something Kabbalistic is when you express something in a certain way, there are spiritual senses that people have. It brings it to their awareness. People are already becoming aware of this. And people are going to be more aware of this. My warning is, from all my experience and what I've seen in this area, is if you don't change yourself now from your heart, or at least from the outside or whatever, if you don't change yourself now, is what I'm saying, you choose to go the same way, and you don't work on yourself or whatever, you might end up bringing yourself to such a point of wickedness without even being able to think or reflect on what you were once before, the kind of person you were once before, or even the kind of person you were once when you were born or at your best age. With no control, you might end up doing something really bad out of wickedness. It might rob you completely of everything you are, were, and are supposed to be, and will stand in your way in your existence. every which way maybe. I don't speak up about this as much as maybe people would say at this point you should, because people don't listen. They just sit and teach when they don't know. By the way, the Torah says when a person is teaching Torah and they don't know what it is and they're just teaching, when they teach what they don't know, they die young. That's a lot of life energy you're spending and exerting in order to keep yourself alive when you're doing this too. People spend life energy too. They spend their own energy as well. There's positive, there's positive energy, there's negative energy. Now, positive energy keeps you going, keeps you alive. People who wreck things for you and constantly wrecking everything and constantly destroying whatever they can and are always deceiving, always are dead inside. Dead people. They're dead inside. They're always about negative energy. They'll come at your face and curse at you for no reason, like somebody did the other day to me for being a world arm wrestling champion and putting up an arm wrestling match that highly accomplished my arm wrestling career because of being dead inside. What am I going to do, right? Ignore the person. Gabe, F you. Okay. Take a walk, pal. This example, what caused this? What influenced people to do things like this? What influenced this gentleman to fall into wickedness and be an Erev Rab, for example? The Erev Zeir. They cause any small people they can to go up to you, to go after you, and insult you. They send you nobodies. They're making them think that they are so big and great when they're not. They cause you lots of trouble and lots of people to come up to you, to waste your time, to put you down, or to try to put you down, or whatever. While the Erev Zeir, when things become too bad, they change for the better to save their lives. But when things get better, again, they go back to corruption. This is a little chain that seems to be going on for a long time. Because people are refusing to think. The Erev Zeir are the ones who were spiritually deep down inside, without even realizing it, causing Muslims to brainwash their kids, Amalaikim, to go and do these bombings and stuff like that. All kinds of things. Influencing the whole world because they know it up here and they know how to maintain their spiritual position while everybody else is doing their dirty work. And these lower people are doing their own sins after these things because they have nothing to do on their own accord, causing fights on everybody, which is the Erev Rav, causing fights on everybody on their own accord, and things went down. The Erev Zeir does a little bit, they pay for a little bit, and all they're doing is causing chaos because these are people who are religious people. Now keep in mind, good people as well. Good people who are religious people who then become corrupt. Now imagine a one-time big hero. Let's say he was a hero his whole life, right? A big hero his whole life. Suddenly he decides to become an idol worshiper and go bad completely and make people pay and hurt people, make people suffer, go against good people. How much force and power does he come at you with? You'd say this guy is unbeatable. I remember playing a little prank when I was, like in 4th grade or something, 5th grade or something. And, I was known as the martial artist in school. I was always, fighting anybody who wants to bully anybody. They called me. I made sure things went down right. I made sure bad things weren't happening under my watch. So I once played a little joke. This kid said, uh, these kids from another school, they're older than us. They're like 2 years older, 3 years older than us. They're gonna come. They said they're gonna come and whoop our asses. Whatever. Gabe, you came yesterday for the basketball. You weren't here though. You were absent that day. You had a cold or something. That's what they told me. I'm like, who are these little cherries coming, to our school to start a little beef? All right. So these kids come. So I played a little joke because I'm like, I was at a point where I'm doing pretty good in my martial arts. I already practiced on taking, a group of a lot of people, you know, a year older, whatever, big, they happen to be martial artists too. So I wanted to do a little thing on my own. Is if these kids want to come and fight, I'll fight them myself, all of them. So what I did was I faked to be like I joined them. These kids come in the school where the basketball, everything is. They come to fight. I join there, so I'm like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, shaking and stuff, shouldering, I'm like, "What's up, whatever, whatever." And they're like, "Who's this kid?" But they're like, "Look at this. He's short and skinny, but he doesn't look like he could be played with, though. He doesn't look like he's scared of anything." But none of their faces are saying it, you know. So I'm like, "What's up? What's up?" And then I look like I'm gonna join them. So there's one kid who did something to me earlier. I think he hit me for some reason or something. He thought I did something. They used to do stupid things like that back when we were kids. They would hit someone if they think they did something wrong, whatever. He hit me. I'm like, "Yo, dude, I'm gonna get you back later," because I heard there's gonna be a little fight going on later. So I took this one kid who did something to me, and I told him I was gonna get him back later. I mean, he hit me in front of everybody. Kid stuff. So I went up and hit one of the kids from my school. Right? Bam. Stomach. He's on the floor. Okay. And these other kids, they're like, "Oh shit! Like, who's this kid? We don't know him." And I made it like I joined all of them. And what did these kids were all about to start crying? Kids in my school. Everybody thought Gabriel became bad and evil. But I'm like, in this position, I'm like, if I were to turn on everybody, I could do lots of bad shit. I knew I could do lots of bad shit. I mean, I could take all these freaking kids in the school. That's what I was thinking. Had I turned bad, everybody used to say, "God forbid, Gabriel turns, evil. Look what he can do." So I took on all these other kids from another school myself. It's like I went after them myself. They're like, they don't even know what the hell is going on. They'll run out crying and shit. So when you have somebody, I'm not calling myself a hero, by the way. I'm saying you have somebody who stood up for what's right a lot of the time, or most of his life, or a hero who's been his whole life and he turns bad. Same thing with religious people. They produce lots of good things in the world. They turn bad to be Erev Zeir. They turn corrupt, from corrupt to religious, from religious to corrupt religious people, religious corrupt people. When they turn bad, they bring you a hell of a storm to deal with. They bring you lots of problems to deal with. That's what I'm saying, is they are causing lots of bad things within the atmosphere of spirituality. They're causing lots of problems, and your average person might not have the spiritual ability to tell. But people who are, into Kabbalah, like myself or whatever, legitimate Kabbalah, not the BS stuff that they teach, is some of us know how to understand these things. Some of us know a few things. Some of us learned a few things. So some of us feel the responsibility to bring this out to the world and share a few wisdoms or a few wise examples, so that people will smarten up and understand what's going on and what's causing all the depression in their lives, what's causing sicknesses to go out, what's causing people to be vulnerable spiritually and being sick on the outside, what's causing people to be in hospital beds, what's causing all this negative energy that gets people to do bad things or get sick or make accidents and end up into places like a hospital with a serious disease or whatever. You have all these negative people, the Erev Zeir, who are saying, they're Kabbalists or whatever, when they're lying and they're not Kabbalists, and they give you some bad spiritual shit to deal with. The next thing your whole life is going down. There are those who are brainwashing endlessly. There are those who are not stopping with the spiritual violence by trying to make you live the life that they want you to live, when it's the life of worship to these spiritual leaders or rabbis or whoever. And who have they influenced? The whole entire world. I'm not talking about religious people generally. I'm talking about the corrupt religious people, and I'm talking about the religious people that are corrupt. So we're talking about the same thing, but two different areas where to view it from. These are the two eyes where to view it from. How do you face it? Metaphorically, eye to eye. That's the problem. People want to face things head on, eye to eye, when it's spiritual, when it's not physical. And you want to look like hot shots when you're really supposed to be technical and go about it the technical way completely. Sometimes beating it, sometimes winning is by staying away from it. Sometimes winning is by not giving them any business, meaning by not coming to hear what they have to say if they're going to use it to corrupt, and they're going to teach maybe 40% of what's not corrupt at a lecture or speech or whatever. Or maybe they'll teach you 10% of what's corrupt. Maybe you show up, maybe you don't. Maybe for you it's bad, maybe for you not. Maybe you'll learn how he's corrupting, then maybe you'll show up. Maybe you'll know how to change people by explaining them what he's trying to say here. The problem with religious folks today is their rabbi will tell them a verse or anything, and he'll give you an interpretation, something that's not valid, and you'll take it and believe it as if it's the Torah. Until somebody like myself, maybe, or someone else, who's got the guts to confront you, I don't need guts, honestly, and opens the book, opens other books, and he shows you the actual source, because he learned it, or maybe he knows it by heart, or whatever. And he shows it to you and proves it to you. And a lot of the time, many of you religious people say, I don't believe it. My rabbi told me. I don't want to listen. Okay, go destroy your lives, right? No. Fail your tests when everybody passes by not letting you go and maybe showing you what you're doing wrong, because you're influencing everybody you can in the whole world, whoever you can. You're destroying their lives because you want to impose your own way of living because you failed. They maybe confront you or ignore you or whatever. You fail your test finally. Then God judges you. And other people get to live their lives the right way. I'm not talking about a non-religious life. Many people who are in religion, they say, oh, I got out a little bit of this abuse. I'm not going to be religious anymore. Becomes a heretic or a good person who does lots of bad things. Why not face it head on once and for all? This is the Erev Zeir right there, doing all of this. Fight for what's right, fight for your life. Good lyrics from a song. Go by it when it comes to the Erev Zeir. They ruin your inspiration, they ruin your heroic spirit, they ruin your image when you're in front of your wives. They try to tell you, don't work out a little bit even just to be strong. Just, depend on God for everything. Maybe you're not on that level to depend on God for everything. Maybe I'm on that level to depend on God for maybe things like strength or bodybuilding or whatever. Because maybe I've done so much of it, I'm saying like, I don't need this right now because, I've already been on all kinds of shapes or whatever. Your body just goes back to a certain size and your shoulders aren't going to be bulging like Batista anymore because it's just not normal for the body. You stop working out, you stop taking your shakes or whatever. I never take shakes. But I'm saying you stop whatever they're doing, whatever these people are doing for muscles, things go back. They're still built, but they're not rounded on the shoulders or whatever. Because maybe the body's not supposed to be like that. So you say, yeah, I'll chill out. I lift weights. I'm honestly tired of lifting weights. I feel like I'm doing this for no reason. You put it down. Fine. You want strength? Yeah, maybe you don't need strength. Then again, maybe you rely on God. Maybe if you need strength, God will give it to you personally. Because maybe you hit max finally. Spiritually, physically, because you did all this working out with meditating on God on the inside. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe. So, these people are saying to you, better not to do this, or there's a war, people sending lots of things to Israel. What are the religious areas? What do they might say? Just pray. Excuse me. Just when Moshe took the Jews out of Egypt, or was taking them out, they were presented with certain options. One did this, one did that. I mean, not present. They chose certain things to do. And we learn in the Torah, which says there's a time when to fight, there's a time when to pray, there's a time for etc., etc., etc. Torah observance. Now, how do you finally live without the Erev Zeir, so there will be no Erev Zeir ever? Torah observance the right way. You could do things the wrong way and get to a certain place and not learn jack, diddly squat at that point, unless you're starting to reflect and learn your lessons, or Torah observance the right way, and you live your life in a sense as if, God is watching me. God can see everything at all times. God is the king in front of the king. How am I going to conduct myself and my life now? God, that's my Father in heaven, right? God is the Father in heaven. He's watching. Do the right thing. Try my best. Maybe you'll say to yourself, why is this guy wanting me to worship him in a sense, in a way, by wearing tzitzis for him? Or he says, you put the tefillin on, you learn Torah. In a sense, like he's saying inside, you're doing it for me, you're worshiping me by doing these things the way I want you to, my way. No. Are you putting tefillin on? Are you learning Torah? Is it, why should they come up to you like it's their business to know? If they're watching out for you spiritually, make sure you're doing what you have to do in life to keep all the good spiritual conditions up, and they're also saving themselves in a sense like that, and they care enough for a reason, fine, okay. But somebody to come up to you and make you feel like, like something's not right inside, they come up to you, they're like, you wearing tefillin, you learning Torah, you're taken away from the beauty of what God is about, having a relationship with God. That's what wicked men do. The Father in heaven, God, watching us. God, what's up? How you doing? I feel close enough. I feel okay. Can I hear God? Can anyone hear God? Can we see God? Are we so holy? Is anybody so holy to be able to hear God or see God? We don't hear God. We don't see God. After redemption, maybe that's a different case. Maybe we'll be able to hear God after redemption. After Mashiach comes, redeems us, right? Now, what prevents redemption? The Erev Zeir prevents redemption. Who delays the redemption? The Erev Rav. The Erev Zeir are the ones who would support the Erev Rav if nothing else was left as an option. They're the ones who would save them. On the inside, instead of letting God judge them by having them do something like giving somebody else a test. Somebody else takes a test spiritually and fails, then the Erev Rav person, the wicked person, might change for the better and do that person's test since he caused that person to fail. You cause a person to fail a test, it might be incumbent on you for a mission for you to not make up for this person's test that he failed. Now, your conscience is exacting that from you. Now, your soul is pending on it. You feel it. To do it right, to make it right, to make things right. This is what keeps the Erev Rav running, wicked people running, is you failing and them maybe having the heart to actually fix it up one way or the other, or make it better one way or the other. If they live off of you, you dying inside, you hurt. Now, when you finally get rid of them, the Erev Zeir, the corrupt religious ones, the religious corrupt ones, might try to come down on you with all the knowledge they know or whatever, to cause you to fail, to maybe cause you to hang out with the Erev Rav, or whatever, cause you all these bad problems. A start is here is to stop standing up for false bad leaders or rabbinic leaders that are corrupt as if they were your idols. What is this? Idol worship? It's time to stop with these things and wake up to reality. There's a great life to live the right way. Not by abandoning your religious or observance completely because of the Erev Zeir. They affect the whole world already, remember. It's like a Holocaust on you spiritually. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. To redemption.